What are we doing every day to be in the present of joy and know that like we are enjoying and being grateful for that every day that we can, because sudden change can happen at any moment.
What's up, y'all? It's Ashley.
I'm Fee.
It's Melanie.
And Cody here. And you've tapped into
The Mama's Den.
All right, mamas.
Yes, good
Welcome,
morning.
welcome.
Welcome to the den.
Welcome back,
to the
guys.
den.
My
It is
pants.
2025.
It's a new year.
Screwface. But first and foremost, something we haven't done in a really long time. You remember when we used to be like, oh, these are my kids?
Yeah.
No, they're grown now. So I'm Cody. to our listening audience, I'm Cody. To our YouTube audience, I'm looking right in one of the cameras. I'm Cody. I got 3 kids, 3 boys. Brooks is 8 in these streets, and I have 6-year-old twins, Aristotle and Langston. Ow.
Wow, they're 6.
It's crazy,
Well, it's a new year, so our children's years have changed.
I know.
Man.
I'm Melanie. I am a mom of 2 children. An 8-year-old who is the
What was you had over there? Try that again.
I told you. I forgot how to talk. I told you.
Yeah.
I have 2 children. An 8-year-old son, Cameron, who is almost as tall as I am. He's a giant. And I have a now 3-year-old, Kai Love. She just turned 3. So we are entering a new phase of terrorism. And we're holding on for dear life right now. But she's awesome. I love her so much.
She's so smart.
She is so smart.
She ain't gonna have no problems with her. She's gonna be able
Right.
to speak up and
She
be like,
sets
I
boundaries.
said no.
She
Yeah.
already says that now.
She does.
Yeah.
But when
I
she
love
gets
her.
older,
Oh, yeah.
you know.
Oh.
I just also need her to sleep again. That's a whole other other episode.
We're going to get there.
We'll get there.
Hey y'all, I'm Fee.
Hi, Fee.
I have 2 babies. Peace is 10, and Zen is going to be 6. Oh my gosh!
I am
in like
not
3
ready
weeks.
for these ages have changed.
Yeah.
I was watching her when she was sleeping yesterday, and I was looking at her body like, why are you so long? Like you take up the whole couch.
Me too, except
She's
Brooks'
getting
knees
so
were in my
big.
back at the
I remember
time
when Peace
because
was
that's how
like
he
3.
sleeps.
I'm gonna cry.
I know. No,
She's
it's
in the double
it's,
digits.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And she is like growing,
Yeah.
like spiritually, physically. Oh God.
Turning into a young lady.
Just go. Tell how many kids you have.
I'm just sitting here, I was literally sitting here thinking about her, like being her little chubby face when she was little, her curly hair, like, oh, okay, sorry.
I know.
This is Ashley Chia. I have 4 children, 4 daughters.
Damn.
I think we need
Some
to
things
all
from
just keep on
2024.
doing that.
2024 had to bring it back.
Yeah. All right.
Wait, can we do that again and then we all say it together?
No, absolutely not. Azara, where are my kids' names? Oh, Amira.
See? I told you.
She is 15 and she's about to be 16 in like a month, guys.
Now
Now
I
that's
told
crazy.
you, I'm having a hard time hearing these ages change quickly.
And she just got her permit.
Yeah, I was
Her
about to
driver's
ask about
permit.
that.
Yeah.
Wait a second. I talk to you every day. You did not tell me this?
I don't want to tell anybody
Why?
because it's stressing me out in my heart. I'm trying to be happy for her.
You keeping
that's-
secrets from me is stressing me out in my heart.
I keep a lot of secrets.
I
You
know
already
you do.
this.
Oh my
Gosh. Don't say that out loud. That hurt.
Sorry. It's hard for me. It's hard for me. I don't say things that I haven't accepted yet.
That is true.
That's what
That's
it is.
why you're.
Yeah,
That's why you're
I'll
a secret
share
keeper.
it, and then when people give their opinion, I don't care because I've moved past it.
Oh my God.
But I don't want to talk about it. So, anyways, Amira is about to be 16. Azara is 8, which is wild. Asia is 6, and Tata is 3. She's 35-3.
Yeah.
Your face is saying everything.
Be-
Girl.
Ashley and I are living in the same pits of hell right now because
Yeah.
our daughters are a month apart. In fact, for those of you who are just tuning in and have never those, Ashley, my daughter is really Ashley's 5th daughter.
It is.
She absolutely manifested me having a second child and a daughter, and they're basically twins, and they really are best friends. They love each other.
Yeah,
so much.
they
The
every
girls love each
day.
other.
Going to Kai's house. Is Kai coming over?
I want to go Auntie Ashley. Oh, by the way, she also asks for Uncle Chia all the time now.
Of course.
She's like, I want to call Uncle Chia.
Because he be playing with her.
So she says it.
Yeah.
Please take a
well,
video of her saying
I
this.
will.
I just need to see
She
it.
just loves everybody. The other day, she said, remember she was there. She was like, I want to call Aunt Cody.
First of all, no. I was
Yeah, and Ashley got
I
mad.
was so irritated. I was FaceTiming Kai, and we were having a cute little conversation. Out of nowhere, she's just gonna be like, "Can we call Auntie Cody?" No, she said FaceTime.
Why you gotta say it like that?
Because it was irritating. I was like, I said
Sweet
no.
little Kai don't make that face.
I literally
when
told
she
her
says
no.
it.
She does.
I was like, no, you're talking to me right now.
Ashley
But
was
you could
very
have added
offended.
her. You could have added her.
No, this was my time.
Right, Felicia? Right?
It's my time.
It's true.
She can call her Auntie Cody another time.
Sidebar, knowing that you don't want to talk about this permit makes me want to talk about it a lot.
Girl,
Absolutely.
Just, what do you want to ask
So
Me
me?
too. I have
No,
questions.
No.
Just
We're going to
ask.
go there. Don't worry.
It's fine. You can ask me whatever you want.
I will. Just not today. Okay?
Okay.
Because today is the first time that we have been together in 2025, I think. No, you and I saw each other yesterday.
Okay, I was
But
gonna say.
as
With
a, as a
podcasting.
group.
Yes.
Oh yeah, you're right.
We got
Yes.
Oh,
this
together.
is the first time.
The last time we were together was your birthday dinner. And
Hey,
I
40,
turned
40. Welcome.
But she don't look like. Actually, I do. Whatever 40 looks like, I am 40.
exactly
that
it.
part.
Yeah.
We have completely
You
defined
do look like a 40-year-old because you are.
Okay,
Yeah.
period.
And I love that for us.
Please zoom in on that. Whoever's editing this.
So today we are recording before the upcoming inauguration, as well as since we were together last, y'all, we live in LA. The mamas, we live in LA. None of us are from here, which I realized, but we have deep love
Well,
for
Felicia's
LA.
from California.
Yeah,
But not
not
LA.
LA.
Not LA. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we are recording this, not post wildfires. Amidst, yeah. So it is January 17th. And so what that means is for the last 2 weeks, Los Angeles, has been inundated with wildfires caused by historic winds met with very dry conditions in LA, and tens of thousands of structures, is how they put it on the news, many of which are homes, are no more. So we all know people who've lost their homes. We are all in the midst of the impact in terms of like wanting to help folks and helping folks, but like being overwhelmed with how do we help, but also how do we navigate the day-to-day of life.
Yes. How do we
right?
carry
Kids
on?
in school, out of school, explaining this to our children, and like figuring out our feelings that change from day to day, and that first week from hour to hour. So part of what we want to talk about today is just like a check-in, and the duality of this crisis, the upcoming, frankly for me with January 20th, the upcoming like fear for what that will bring, and how we like still find joy, even if it's short-lived.
Well, it's the excitement also too of like a new year, right? Like we look
Is
forward to a new year, like, oh, it's a new year, another opportunity, first quarter, money. Like we think about all these things that are opportunity. I feel like and especially in the nature of the music business, everything really shuts down at Christmas. Like people stop working. It becomes
Same
very
for,
quiet.
film and TV.
Right? And so when you come back in January, you're like, whew, let's go. But this year we was like, ooh, let's slow down. Let's survive, at least for us here, in LA.
I realized in the middle of the night last night, my kids have been out of school for a month
That is
Wait,
insane.
why?
because
they
2
live
weeks of
yeah.
Christmas or holiday,
Oh,
and then they
the
went back to
fires.
school for 1 day, and then school's been closed for 2 weeks.
Dang.
How are you doing this?
I don't know.
They're not doing like.
Are they
online
like
stuff
coming with
them?
you? Like what's happened?
The first week, it was a lot of like, we were together.
Yeah.
They were at the office kicking it is strong, but they were at the office doing whatever. We have a nanny, but we hired her. She's new. We hired her to do the afternoons, the pickups and the dinner and bedtime. So like now I was trying to navigate. I don't want to put too much on her. So I had them with me every day last week. And then this week there's been like, okay, sis, I need you 9 to 8. I need to go to work. And just navigating that. And then the school decided to do remote learning. It's not required, but they miss their friends. I could go on and on. I don't want to monopolize, but for sure the juggling of 3 individuals' lives, plus our nanny and Tommy and I having to work and just figuring all of that out while feeling the like, what else can we do to help others? Is overwhelming.
It's a lot. I feel you. I feel that big time. I think also, like the other day when I picked up Peace from school, I guess one of the teachers asked like, and I don't know, maybe you guys tell me if I'm overthinking this. The teacher asked, put your hand up if your house is okay. And there's like 1 or 2 kids that didn't raise their hand. And I was just like, oh my gosh.
She do that?
I don't know.
Trying to
I don't
figure out
know.
where she was
so I'm
going
not
with
tripping.
that.
No, that's weird.
And then
Why
I
would
asked
she do
Peace, I
that?
said,
That's
so what
weird.
happened after that?
Right.
She was like, nothing. And I was like, oh, I don't like that.
Well, she didn't say like.
maybe she pulled them to the side later or something, but Peace said she didn't see nothing.
But also, if you do a public call out to single out these kids in front of this group of kids, create space for those kids to honor their experience.
And for the other kids
Yes.
to sort of understand and learn empathy.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It's
You
an
definitely not true.
Right. It's
Nah,
like if you ask that
weird.
question, be prepared for somebody to possibly not raise their hand. But when Peace told me, and Peace said, you know, Mom, and then when he walked in, he had a little bit of an attitude. His energy was just very different. And
The teacher or the kid?
No, the kid.
Of course.
Yeah.
They lost their
But
home.
but before they raised their hand, so Peace like peeps like, oh, something is like a little off. And I just started crying because I was like, it's just so sad. I'm probably gonna cry. I'm like, when it comes to the kids, I'm like, I just can't imagine, y'all. I'm like, I know all of us are just like, it's just, I couldn't imagine just one day everything is gone. As a child, obviously as an adult, but like as a child, and then the pressure that those parents probably feel to create, like you still have to create space for your kids. You know what I mean? And it's like,
while you're trying to figure out your insurance, where are you going to live, like,
Your health.
your health, like
Yeah.
I think because my brain is like compartmentalized so much, like that's how I think, and I get super overwhelmed. I think about the minutia of it all, like not even just, I think like, oh my, like when I'm at home with my kids and I'm frustrated, I literally think about, like, it was like a couple days into the fires and Tata was just like acting a fool, and I was like, oh my God, there are people who are displaced with their toddlers, like having to try to navigate your toddler or your child acting up, and you're trying to figure out, where am I going to live? You just found out your house burned down, and you have to like replace things and like insurance and like all of that, and you're doing that not in your home or in your friend's home, or who knows, like some people didn't even, during shelters, you know? And it's just like, it overwhelms me because I'm an extreme empath, and I think it's when you grow up to like without having a lot, then you start to tap into your own trauma.
girl,
you know what I mean?
I think that's exactly what happened.
Yeah. You tap into your own trauma,
Yeah.
and you start to feel what they're feeling, because now you're remembering when you didn't have something, or when your stuff was taken away, you know, like I was robbed, and like all of these things you just start thinking about, like being violated. And you get overwhelmed. I know for me, like I just was like, I can allocate like a certain amount of money, like $1,000, and I was like, I'm going to try to give like 100 to, you know, different families, because every time I would open up my app, it was getting to the point where I was like, I'm not gonna have no money in my bank account, because every story is sad for me. I don't care if they black, white, Hispanic, I don't care.
Yeah, everybody.
I'm like, this is sad, this is sad, this is sad. Like the firefighter and his child, and I'm like, damn, he's fighting the fires and he lost his own home. Like all of it, it's just too much.
Yeah.
It's very overwhelming, and I've been trying to really like. Also, I think it might have been Sharon Stone, but don't get me to lying on that woman's name. But
She's a good
someone,
woman.
huh?
I like her. She's a good woman.
I know, but she had made a comparison to Palestine, or it was someone, and people were upset with her. And I was like, I don't think people get it. Like, a lot of us are delusional. We live, especially in America, we have no idea what it's like to live in a war zone. And so for some people that are now experiencing this is allowing them to have a level of empathy, and that's the closest thing that they realize. And so yes, it might be an insensitive comparison, but at the same time, what they're saying is, wow, now I understand. And sometimes it takes that. Like, now I get it, what it's like to wake up and your whole home is gone and everything's demolished around you, and you know what I mean? So like this is also allowing some people to experience a level of empathy that they never had for those
but you
without.
know what is also exhausting is like with that, the level of ignorance and rudeness. I can't think of a better word than rudeness.
Yeah, it's
because of social media,
And
that people will
trifling,
say
too.
things. And I don't mean the comment that you're talking about. I'm saying like people even just being like, oh, that's so insensitive. Think what you think. People are going through stuff. People are trying to figure out stuff. People are trying to rationalize things. People are trying to your point, it might be the first time they realize, oh, this is what it's like to lose everything and not know what's going to happen next. And
But then people insensitively online are like, oh, they're rich, they'll be all right.
100%.
But it's
And
like,
it's just
horrible.
exhausting
It's
to
horrible.
see this stuff.
their money did not stop their house from burning down.
No,
that
but here's
trauma
the
of that,
thing.
like that's going to be a trauma that you have to survive regardless. This is a human thing. You know what I mean?
That is
But
not
people don't
okay.
know how people. This is the thing that
That's so
also bothers
weird.
me. I don't care if someone was born rich. People work for what they have. Somebody worked for it. Maybe your great granddaddy worked for it. Maybe he had slaves. I don't really know. But the money was worked for. You know what I mean? And the money has translated. So it is a blessing for people to pass down money. Don't be mad at people for that. And also, some people don't understand about LA that I really think is delusional to anyone that does not live in LA. People have I have $1 million home. It is not what you think it is. You know what I mean?
No,
Our $1 million
we see them videos every day. People know better. You see
$1
them
million
videos every day.
home it is like if somewhere else they're thinking of like mansions.
Right.
So I'm like, first of all, don't put a price tag on someone's dwelling. That's number one. It doesn't matter if the house costs $1 million, $10 million. Someone worked for that. They had to get up every day and work and figure out how to, and like, it's hard to buy a house in LA. So anyone that has a house in LA, like that is an amazing thing. Like it's
That
not
part.
easy.
That
You know what I
part.
mean? So to the richest man, to the middle class man, to whatever. But to me, I think it's odd when something happens. I don't think like, what is their political status? What is their da-da-da? When something happens to someone, I'm immediately just have empathy for them.
Yeah.
Like I gotta wait and be like, dang, well, now who did you vote for? No, I'm kidding. But you know what I mean? but seriously, I'm still gonna feel bad. I
Yeah.
feel bad for
Yeah.
human beings because
Yeah.
we're all humans having an experience. But I'm not gonna negate the fact that some people, it is hard for them to feel bad when they feel like someone has always had a leg up. And I get that. But it's like not the time to express that. You might need to write that in your angry journal and keep it to yourself.
But that's what is honestly killing me at times is the amount of people who are willing to say that out loud or
out
write
loud.
that, because they're gonna write it before they're gonna say it, and just put it out in the world and just be like, you're rich, you can afford to do whatever, or LA deserves it.
So
What the
So you know the other thing too, like it's within this same point of the conversation. Like I don't know what it is. I don't know what we call it, but when people, like, let's say for instance, show up to the donations with like a camera crew and it's this whole entire performance, it's like even things like that, it's like sometimes just get out of the way and literally just go and help. But I feel like, I don't know. That's why I was like, I don't know if it's an LA thing.
No,
I don't
you
know,
know
what
what?
it is.
The caveat to that, or the other side of that, is this though. It's I think being a celebrity, you're in a messed up position. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Because imagine, right?
No, these are regular people I'm talking about, not
okay.
celebrities.
But
No,
I'm
no.
just saying, well, anyway, well, for people, if they like, if you don't say you're doing, because you're doing a fundraiser, right, Felicia? If you don't say I donated, people are going to be like, did you even help? Da-da-da. So
Yeah.
now people feel like they
Yeah.
have to show, I helped,
Receipts.
I showed up, I did this, I know you know I'm rich, and here I am giving, because
Yeah.
then it's
I
like,
know
if-
you think I'm rich.
right, if you don't, then people are like, did you help? Do you know what I mean?
But even that is crazy. Like, why do I
Yeah.
have to explain that to you?
Girls, the messed up
You
world that we
know?
live in.
Yes.
Like, oh gosh.
And I mean, for me, a lot of it comes down to, like, obviously Los Angeles is in crisis. It's not going to be over soon. There's going to be plenty of work to do and plenty of ways to help people for months, if not years to come. And that is a reality that we are now living. And I say we are living. Obviously, the four of us did not lose our homes, but we all know people who did.
Yes.
And we all know that the city will suffer in a lot of ways, and that we all have to, because of the type of people that we're always going to be thinking about how can we help, right? So that's a fact, right? And then there's like day-to-day life. Like, even, we were talking in the last couple of days about, like, it feels weird sometimes, even just like, okay, we have to record. We have to, go.
Get our nails done.
Yeah.
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 What?
And
Yeah.
that's sort of the duality piece of, like, yes and, or yes but, and so how are y'all feeling or rationalizing just like living, like I get the survivor's remorse piece of, there's certain things that we did not lose in the last 2 weeks, but like, I don't know, I just want to explore that and see how you're feeling, see how you're finding your joy.
Because you had to evacuate temporarily.
So we actually never had to mandatorily, like we or is that a word?
It is today.
You know what you meant, girl.
Right. I think for us, because when the warning first came in before the fires began, our neighborhood was the one that was like life-threatening winds, and I sent it to you guys, and I was like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
And I knew, like, we get crazy winds out where we live, and I know the risk of fire out there. So we were kind of on this high alert. And then the day that the fires started, it was like perfect blue skies out from where we were. So I was like, and then my mom and dad are calling, and they're like, every hour, why aren't you guys evacuating? I'm like, guys, like, where we are is like, it's actually okay. Like, we would not jeopardize staying at home and our safety and our kids, Yeah. I think the thing for us that was happening specifically, just even for us, but I think for all of us, it was this like, you just unrest of, do I gotta go now? You're waiting for your phone to get that call. It's like the doom call. Like, you're waiting, like, is it time? Is it my time to go? Your bags are packed. Your kids are hearing everybody talk about it around you. For us, fortunately, we never lost power. So we still had to, carry on as usual. And so we took our son to school. The day that there was power outages in our neighborhood around us, we kept our son home from school that day. And, that was a reality. It's like, I said to myself, I was like, if I send him to school and the power goes out and it's going to take me 40 minutes to get to him, which normally takes 6, I'm not taking that risk. I'm keeping my baby home. And even just the reality of wanting us to stay close together. What can we do?
Yep.
So on the weekend, we drove out. We drove north. We drove up towards like this little town in Santa Barbara. And, just to get out of the air quality,
sure. Yeah.
just the space of speaking about it, and even that came with a level of guilt. It's just like, you have this privilege to be able to drive away somewhere and go take your kids to have ice cream in a town that they've never been to. And, and somebody has lost everything. And I think that 2 things can be true. I think you can have empathy, and I think you can feel the survivor's remorse. And then also you have to also carry on, and you also have to continue to survive within your own right. You can't be engulfed by the doom as well. And so you have to carry on. And especially when you have children, you have to show them that you have the ability to carry on in tough times, to mentally push through, and to also at night say your prayers and acknowledge the people who have lost and remember the things that are happening in the world. So we are so much more grateful for what we are able to do and is still able to do. And so I think, from that perspective, that's kind of been my my approach. Like we have some travel coming up, things that are happening. My son still has a production at school. I want him to feel good. I want him to feel good and safe about going to school. So we show up. My son just got his yellow belt for karate. Yay! Like there's still things that we're over here, very excited for. And I think I'm clinging to those things because again, as an empath, and that's the thing that makes me, and I think, Ashley, we talk about this a lot because you, with your sister's death and things like the possibility of sudden change is imminent at all times, right?
Yep.
Like these fires were so unforgiving and destructive and came and devastating quickly. But car accidents, like what are we doing every day to be in the present of joy and know that like we are enjoying and being grateful for that every day that we can, because sudden change can happen at any moment. And I think that's the thing that this time has reminded me of. And it's and to start the year off honestly, like rooted in so much more gratitude and having more conversations with God and having more just presence of mind has been, I think, the like almost a strange gift I didn't know that I needed at the beginning of the year. It came wrapped really weird. But but I like I said, I feel like I do kind of live in that space, but I think the way this year started for me personally, it just reminded me like, don't lose sight of that. Like stay in that all year.
That's what I was gonna say. I think I constantly live in that duality. So for me, it was more like every single day I made my children pray for the people who've lost their homes. And I'm like, I just want them to acknowledge that and recognize that. Like every day, like we all hold hands, and I'm like, whatever prayer we say, where's dinner or whatever, like honestly every day when the fires were happening, we were just in the middle. I sometimes would just stand up, everybody give me your hand, and we would just pray, because I was like, God, please protect those families, the children, like help them rebuild. But I think because of how I grew up, I didn't grow up with a lot. And so one thing that I kept doing, which I don't know if anyone else did this that lived in LA that wasn't like affected directly by their home, I kept looking around my house like, how attached am I to the things in here? Like, does any of this matter? What would I take with me? What do I care about? And I was like, my Legos. That's like the only, I know.
That was your answer?
Yeah. I mean, my children and some photos of like grandparents and stuff that are not digital. But I'm like, I don't have a lot of stuff in my house because of that, though.
Yeah.
You know why? When we first moved here, we kept moving into different apartments, and I started to just get desensitized to things, and I stopped being attached to them. And so then now I live incredibly minimalistically. I don't really have a lot of stuff in my house. I don't have a lot of clothes. I don't have things. And I think part of it is because of that, because of like, Chia's always like, let's buy a new house or let's move here. Like he just enjoys remodeling homes. And then equally, I feel like I don't like being attached to things because I lost my sister. I think it's just a trauma response. I just think that that's how I've existed. I'm so attached to my children and I'm so attached to my family. And it's the most important thing to me that it's really hard for me to be attached to things, but it's the idea of safety. That's the thing. Like you working hard and having a space in a home that's like, I don't really like a lot of people. So y'all know I'll be in my house. I don't even like people in my house. So it's like, I get that's what was breaking my heart. It's like people, that's your safety and your safe space. So it's less of the things in your home and more of what your home represents to you as like your safe space. Yeah. And I've just been trying to like remind the children to just be aware. But we talk a lot about what's going on in the world, and so the fires, I think we're close to them, but they're very aware of what's happening every day. And every day I remind them, like, someone somewhere woke up to bomb. Someone somewhere woke up and their child has cancer. Like, I try to keep them understanding every day that, like, what's happening for you is not happening for everyone else. And you need to remember that. Even your friends, you showing, like, you know how Peace was so aware, like, she noticed and she's tapped in. Like, he looked a little off today. Like, them being able to recognize that in other people as well. Like, everyone doesn't have the same experience you have.
Yeah, I feel like I agree with both of you in your responses. I think for myself, because last year, 2024, I spent so much time like really building my relationship with God, like my one-on-one relationship, talking to God more, trusting God more, exploring like what that relationship looks like. And so I was aware, but I wasn't afraid in a very like weird way.
Yeah.
But but I think it's literally that is because I've gotten to a point where it's like whatever is going to happen, you know? And when I think about things from that perspective, it just makes it easier for me to tap into joy. And I know when we left, the first thing I was like, okay, I want my babies, my pictures, their passports and stuff, and we could go. You know, I'm like, you guys put your stuffies in your bag. But I was even thinking like, even the fact that we had time to think about that, people didn't get that opportunity. You know, and so I cried a lot because again, I just couldn't imagine and like how those families feel. But yeah, I don't know. I think I'm just in a different space, like with my relationship with God, to where it makes the hard things that we go through just feel a little bit easier, even though it's uncomfortable. You know. But yeah, I mean that's really all I have to say about it is like I'm just trusting in the times where
you
it's
find
like,
your joy in your relationship with God and trusting and the faith that you have.
For sure. And I think that praying is always something like me and the kids pray so much. We'll be driving down the street and we'll see something or something will come like on my heart or I'll feel a certain way or they'll feel a certain way. And I'll just start talking to God. So the kids are so used to it, you know? But I also think there was a sense of, I was very proud of myself because of the way that I was able to handle it like in real time. And it doesn't mean that I'm not sad or not stressed or, you know, not any of like the human flesh things, but I was proud that I naturally knew, go to God. That's where you're supposed to go, you know? I think because of, I mean, did a lot of training last year. So I don't know. I just feel like all of it is, even though it's hard to say, I feel like everything happens how it's supposed to happen. And sometimes it just doesn't look or feel fair or nice. You know what I mean?
Yes, I would counter that because I always like to say this when people say that. I think if you believe that God gave us free will, a lot of this stuff is like, I don't personally feel like everything is supposed to happen, if that makes sense. I just think there's like
everything happens for a reason when people say that.
The reason could be man. Do you know what I mean? Like if God really gave us free will and we have a decision to make, how we treat the environment, how we treat one another, who we elect into office, all of these things play a role in the things that happen. I think one thing we all need to be more aware of how we really affect one another's lives. Like God gave us that power. You know what I mean? Like we have the power to kill each other. We have the power to give life. We choose these things. And so I feel like God really wants us all to be happy, you know what I mean? And like joyful. But I think the decisions that everyone makes affect one another. And that's why I try to tell my kids, like when you litter, like even like that, like they don't litter, but I'm just telling them, like when I'm telling them not to litter, I'm like, some people live on the street. Like we keep the street clean for us, but what if somebody has to sleep there? Like that's their home too. You know what I mean? Like I just try to keep them aware of everything that they do affects someone else, you know? So I don't know what that means in the grand scheme of things, but I think we need to be more mindful of how we treat one another as humans and our actions that we take and how we're leaving the world for our children and our grandchildren. You know what I mean?
I was gonna say something really quickly on what you said, because I saw this video, and I don't know, you guys probably saw it, where this man, well, actually two videos. One, the guy, he was the only house on the block, and he was like, you know, it was the Caucasian man.
Like how he built his home. He was talking about why his house didn't burn down. It's like how he built it.
I don't know. I don't remember that part of the conversation, but I remember him being like, God saved it. And then there was another one. It was an older black man, and the other houses, I think there was maybe like one or two that didn't. Maybe it was something about building.
But also some people did stuff like put water on the roof, like if they had time or if they knew to do that. So that, to your point, there are pockets of that for sure.
So, but the guy, they were complete opposite. So, I mean, obviously, but the black man was like, so the news anchor asked, well, if your house burned down and all these other houses burned down, then how come these other two houses stayed? And he's like, I don't know, God doesn't care about us. And but I feel like it also reminded me, like, it's a lot of times it's the choices that we make. You know, like there's choices that affect certain things, like people lighting shit on fire, like, you know what I mean? There's the climate change, like there's so many things, and it made me sad to hear him say that, because I was like, I don't believe in that. I don't believe that God doesn't care about you because your house burned down.
I also don't believe that God was like, let me burn all these houses down.
Yeah, I don't believe in that at all.
Like fires everywhere. Like
no, that's not even the fruit of the spirit. Like that's not even how.
Or sometimes it can be jarring if you're someone that something bad happened to you and someone's like, God saved my home. Then that can make you feel away. Like I don't think. I don't serve a spiteful God.
I don't like that. I don't. Yeah,
not to linger in this space, sorry, because we did talk about this last year. I forgot what the context was, but remember we did have a conversation about everything happens for a reason, and like the understandings around that. My 2 cents, I think, is that obviously individuals have their own perspective. What you think about that black man who said God doesn't care about me is different than what he thinks. You know, clearly. True. So we can't like change his perspective necessarily, but I think just to give context, you know, from mine, I think that there's a lesson in everything.
Sure. Yes.
Right. And that lesson could be lost on one person. That lesson could be transformative for another. And I mean that lesson of loss, or that lesson of I'm the only person with a house and now it's apocalyptic in my neighborhood. Like that's not necessarily good, you know, like or pleasant. So I just say that to say, and sometimes those lessons are short term and sometimes they're long term, right? There are things that man can do, like hurt others, kill others, starve people, etc., that in the short term, I think this is what we talked about last year, in the short term are devastating and devastating long term as well. But the lesson, the way that we take care of the climate in 2026, because we failed living up to getting up to 2025, you know, may change as a result of this. I don't, but I think that's my take on it, right? That the whole everything happens for a reason. I think everything happens for a lesson.
Now that's there it is.
Yeah, and it can be
everything happens for a lesson.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Okay. Yes.
Copyright that real quick.
Absolutely. In fact,
cut
that shit out of this episode. Nobody can hear that.
Copyright it real quick.
So that's my 2 cents on it. And so just thinking about, I guess we've experienced LA over the last 2 weeks in this way, and we have. I'm trying not to go too dark, but I am very anxious and uncomfortable about January 20th and beyond. And so without going too deep into that, I guess I'm curious for all of us, right? Like, how would we communicate with other parents navigating these sorts of crises, these sorts of wanting mamas, right? We do this for us and we do this for our listeners, wanting people to remember that their joy matters.
Yes.
Ashley, you did a post about this.
I did, because I was feeling indifferent about it. But the one thing for me, and this is inclusive for all women, but specifically I'm a black woman, so my experiences are always through my lens as a black woman. I feel like black people are always on the front line of everything and we're always the least considered people. And so I felt like it was important to post that, because I saw so many people whose birthdays happen, whose anniversaries happen, and they were so scared to post or say anything about it. And they lived in LA, you know what I mean? And I'm like, you have to find joy. You don't have to, I think there's a sensitivity level, but again, that's the thing. Like, we like to have rules, but it's all about perception and like what matters to you and what your baseline of appropriate or inappropriate is. Listen, when my sister died, I told y'all I had one of the best days of my life. Like, I was laughing with my friends and kikiing because she's dead. I'm not gonna not laugh. Like, damn, that's not gonna bring her back. You know what I mean? So for me, I always live in that space of like, this really sucks. Oh, but this sandwich is good. Like, I can exist in both worlds all the time. Some people aren't able to do that. So what I would say, number one, is to understand your own spirit and what's good for you and how you maneuver through life and stay true to that. And then you cannot listen to outside. You can't let other people dictate how you move through life. Some people pray, some people laugh, some people go call up their homegirl, have a little wine. For me, I just wanted to remind Black women specifically, like, you're allowed to be happy because this is not going to change. And again, there are horrible things happening every single day. So there's people that live in other countries that look at Americans like we're trash. We're out here celebrating and being happy, and their whole lives are being torn apart. So like, how deep do you want to get here about what is and isn't appropriate? If that's the case, then no one should ever smile, you know what I mean? Or ever post anything happy, because there's always going to be somewhere else, somewhere suffering that is going to be like, that's not my experience. My experience right now is terrible and horrible. You know, there's girls being sex trafficked right now as we speak. Like, how deep are we getting here? So I just feel like, honor the situation and then honor yourself and your joy, because you do not know how long you have. So if you want to laugh. If you want to go on a date, go on a date. If you want to post you smiling, post it. You know what I mean? Like, be considerate, but like, be considerate of yourself.
And do no harm.
Yeah. Yes.
Aim to do no harm.
Exactly.
Just ask yourself, like, if your intention is to do harm, don't do that shit.
Right.
Okay? Person, rapists, stealers, arsonists, all you people.
Traffickers.
Okay, traffickers. But like, to do no harm, to enjoy your life and to find your joy, like, that is actually your gift. That's your right. So I mean, I totally agree with you. I totally agree with you. It's like, and again, just living in a world, I think, of social media where everything, what we always post the highlight reels, right? It's like, everything's popping, everything's great, or something's not. And I think, just do no harm. You have to find your joy.
Sometimes I think we're not supposed to know it, all that we know. Like, we're like, I love the fact that we have access to each other, but I'm like, I think we have too much access to each other because you go crazy. You can't even like focus on your nucleus, because now I know what's happening in 18 other countries. Like, it's overwhelming. Sometimes it's too much information, and you got to dial it in. You know what I mean? Or dial it back. I mean, rather.
Yeah, I'm one of those people that like has to receive the information when I'm ready to receive information. Like, and again, that's a privilege for where we are, but it's also a reality. Like, I don't keep the news on in my house on all day. Like,
girl,
I don't put the news on at all.
Same.
News does not live in my house. Like, I can read, the internet is something I can go research. Some households have news on 24/7.
She looks at the news all day.
Politics, whatever it is, it's just going on, news, local news. And I get it. Like, that's, but for me, in protecting my psyche and finding my joy, it's, I have to seek the information, or if it's going to be given to me, I will know it. But I can't be inundated with all the things all the time. And that's just social media in general.
That makes me want to ask y'all, what is one thing that has like brought you joy, or when you're like feeling extremely low, what have you done? I'll tell you mine.
Okay, go.
Queer Eye. I love Queer Eye. It brings me all the joy. It makes me so happy. And that has been my like, well, today's been a big one. Let me just check out and maybe drink wine at the same time. Carry on. What about y'all?
Just mindless scrolling and laughing at memes and watching funny stuff.
I love watching all the TikToks of people speaking Chinese now, speaking Mandarin. They're going over to this Asian app because TikTok is about to end.
Oh yeah, so now they're learning Chinese.
They're like ni hao, mi ta. And I'm like, y'all are ridiculous on TikTok. But again, that is all it is. Like, TikTok actually has been a source of joy, to be honest, because
well, they're taking your joy away.
Oh, well, we'll see.
They got some good stuff on Instagram. I've seen some stuff, girl.
Yeah, you send it to me.
Like the
Felicia
Nutella
sends me the most out in this order.
I watch the craziest stuff. all the time.
This order, y'all might be hand in hand. In this order of outrageousness, it goes.
Sometimes
Felicia,
I'm like, they're
Melanie.
gonna think I'm weird. Remember, I told you that before.
Yeah, and I didn't tell you Melanie won't, because y'all usually end up sending me the same shit, and I'm like, y'all both are a little.
It'll be the
off
randomest
the rocker.
thing.
No,
I like to
y'all-
watch.
I think 4 years in, we won't think you're weird.
Oh no,
I like some shit is kind of weird.
no, some stuff got to stay between us. But I'm gonna tell you,
some stuff got to stay between us.
It got to stay between us. But this one right here, she like right behind you.
You know what's so funny?
Ashley would be like, what the hell is
I know I be
this?
laughing at this
I
shit.
can send dark humor stuff to Ashley.
Yes, yes,
because I
yes.
know, you know, it's just
Okay, cool,
yeah.
cool.
Dark humor is her too.
Okay, cool.
Sometimes I look at the Mom's Den
don't
chat and I
send
was
to
just
me.
like,
We're not sending
this
it to
might
you.
not be a Mom's
No,
Den
right.
chat.
No, but that's exactly what I do.
This might be a
Sometimes,
one-on-one thing.
What's the level
Yeah.
here? Okay, cool.
Like I know when it comes to
I'll
certain
say- I'll
when it
say-
comes to certain individuals that are topics
it's
of interest
Cody.
right now, I'll be sending
I'm about to
Cody.
sing it. I'm about to sing
I'll be
it. Because you know what? Even if Tommy listened to this, he's not going to listen this far. Aaron, Pierre,
That's Mufasa.
Oh my gosh.
Aaron.
that's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going
Listen,
to say.
Oh, my
that shout out to Jennifer Hudson because that melody lives rent free in my head all day.
And Cody's.
Oh
And-
my
and
gosh,
Cody's.
Clearly.
Truly. Well, I think we have a listener letter.
Yeah, we do.
You want to
We
read
love
it,
a
Fee?
listener letter.
Remember, if you have questions for the mamas, feel free to hit us up at podcasts with an S at blacklove.com or DM us on the IG. Well, I'm trying to get off of that because Mark Zuckerberg getting on my nerves. But for now, DM us on Instagram at the Mama Sin Podcast.
But also look out for a newsletter coming soon. Okay.
Right?
Okay, so let's get into this listener letter. So here we go. Recently, we asked our friends on Instagram, what do you want to hear us talk about on the show? Here's what one listener wrote in. Monica_Chalmers711 asked, what values are you guys intentionally trying to teach your children?
What you teaching your kids?
Definitely teaching my kids about God.
I knew
all
it.
day,
I was
every
gonna
day.
say the Lord.
Yeah, teaching them a lot about the Lord, for sure. I teach my kids the importance of, like, if they're going through something, if you feel like you're overwhelmed, if you're feeling angry, you're feeling sad, I always tell them, like, go talk to God. Go have a conversation with God about it. Obviously talk to us, but like really training them to get into that habit. And I'll say too, being respectful and like kind, caring humans, you know? I think that their spirits naturally have that, but just making sure that they stay on it. You know, you can be influenced by other stuff. So yeah, I think overall just being a good person.
You know what
being like Jesus.
Oh God. You know what you do teach your kids? Joy. You teach them to
my
touch
kids joy.
nature, to
This
go
is true.
outside. I love that
This
about
is
you.
true. To be
Yeah.
very-
Take a walk.
Very childlike. I like, that's my happy place, is to like do stuff like that. Like I keep a like a picnic blanket in my trunk.
Aww.
And sometimes I'll be like, let's just go sit at the park, and they love it. Actually, when they went to their therapist, she sent me a message and said, the kids love when you tell them to put their iPads up and go upstairs and play, and then you just play music and you're just like cooking. And she was like, good job, Mom. And I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that, y'all. I thought y'all was mad at me when I did that.
Right.
But Peace was like, but we get to spend quality one-on-one time together, Peace and Zen together. And they were like, we love it because we probably wouldn't have done it. We would have just stayed focused. And I was like, look at me being a good mom.
Okay, period.
What about you, Ash?
What am I teaching my children? What did you say about my brother?
Oh my God, I love that song.
I still haven't seen it. I just watched the same
I'm
Ted
gonna
video
see it
over
again.
and over.
I
Mufasa
haven't
was a
seen it,
really
but I
good
like
movie.
that. I like that song.
It made me feel better about him killing him because they basically
Don't tell us.
Yeah, why would you do that?
Why would you do that?
I mean, I'm not happy that he killed him.
I got you, listener.
Are you?
No, I was re-traumatized.
No, answer the question.
But who
'cause
they
now-
are to each other,
You gonna
you're
take-
like, you feel a little better, like, oh, okay, at least they weren't.
So, what values
Girl.
are you trying to
Look,
to
squirrel
instill?
highlighted.
Yes.
Squirrel.
Well, I think, Blair already diagnosed me with like 18 complications. So I think one of them is ADHD.
Yeah. Tension
Yeah, for sure.
deficit. Mhm.
Disorder. Yeah.
Hyperactivity.
Hyperactivity.
I'm definitely not hyper. What am I saying?
What are you teaching your
teaching
children?
your
Jog in the fog. Oh, what am I teaching my children? Oh, it's discipline. Self-discipline. Because it's something that I lack.
Oh.
And that is one extreme value that I've been trying to like reiterate in my daughter now that she's about to be driving on Satan's roads. And myself, I lack discipline. I really will like just shiny, like, oh, okay, like just get distracted. So I really want them to not struggle as much as I struggle with being focused. And so I really try to teach them to just be disciplined. So that's just like having routines. I'm not good with a routine. I'll do a routine for like 3 days and then I'll be like, I can't do the same thing. I just did it yesterday. So like I want them to be like consistent, and that is one thing. And then loving themselves, loving one another, loving God. Like those are, our family unit is really based around like God a lot, and we pray a lot, we talk a lot, and just being centered in that and being connected to other people. So I really want my children to be empathetic, kind humans, and being self-aware, and it starts within their sisterhood. So a lot of their life lessons are within their sisterhood. So I'm trying to teach them to be really good friends to one another.
Love.
So they can carry that throughout everywhere, you know? So I don't like, oh, she's little, I don't do that. I'm like, no, Tata, that was wrong. You don't hit your sister, period. Now you got to go to timeout. Like, I don't make excuses for anyone based on their age or status. Like, everyone's held accountable for their behavior. And I know that that will make them close and they won't resent one another. I want them to be mad at me and their dad, not each other. So, yeah, just to be good people. What about you, Melanie?
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 I agree. And I think we would probably all say similar things. And I think to contribute something different that I think is a focus right now for us is it's the reward of doing hard things.
Yeah.
That, for me, I think with my son especially, seeing his development in figuring problem solving for himself, which is something that I've had to shift in myself because I think that I'm a very problem solving oriented person. And so if there's a challenge, if there's something, okay, I'll just do it, you know, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
But with my son now, you know, I'm starting to not respond in a space that is like frustration of his inability or desire to want to do something, more so than, oh, I'm excited to see how you figure that out. You know, like normally, or if he has a frustration, like, oh, why are you complaining? This is not great. You're not being grateful. Like, no, oh, you're bored. Oh, okay. Well, I hope you figure out what you're going to do with your time. It's not my problem. You know, even the other day we were traveling on the plane and they gave us those little earbuds, those headphones. He had a pair and they were all tangled up. And on our way in the first trip, he gave it to me. And I just, while taking care of Kaya, was like undoing them and giving them back to him. On the way home, when they were tangled, he tried to give them to me again. And I was just like, oh, I was like, just take your time and figure it out. But Mom, it's going to take so long. I said, yeah, but you'll get there. And I was not fazed. I did not feel frustrated. I watched him. And, you know, like he looked and I showed him, I was like, you just need to find the path and pull it through. And it felt like an overall life lesson, to be honest. You know, like find the path and find your way through.
Everything.
You're going to have to go through some tangled parts, but you'll get there. And
wait, what did he do with it after? I'm curious.
he looked at me and he got through it. And he looked at me, he's like, I did it, Mom. And he just like, it wasn't even like he didn't even expect the praise from me. It was the pride he had on his face for himself.
Yeah.
Like here was something he didn't think he could do. Even with his yellow belt the other day, like his yellow belt, I've never seen a martial arts testing before with kids. And I love his sensei so much. And his sensei told us, like, before we go into this, if you have a hard time with me being hard on your kids, you might not want to be here for the testing. You might want to leave, parents, now. And I watched my son go through the hardest physical, agonizing routine of physical strength, mental fortitude, and discipline that I've ever seen him go through. And I'm not going to lie, I didn't know if he was going to make it. I thought he might have been like, I can't. And he never did. And it was such a proud moment for us because he was crying. Don't get me wrong, through the class, all them kids was just crying at some point. And I was trying to hold back the tears, crying for other kids, just because I think even when it's your own kids, you know their things, so it's easier to be harder on them. When I was seeing all these kids go through, I felt this like, wow, this is what this is about. And so that lesson right there, I saw my son, he never gave up. When he had to hold those planks or do his, you know, sit-ups and all these things that he was doing.
Why is this making me emotional?
Because you understand what it takes to get the mental fortitude. That's why I was like, I was so emotional sitting in there for all of those kids. When it was over, I was so proud of those kids just because I was like, this is such a valuable lesson to know that you can rely on your mental fortitude, that you can do hard things.
It's important.
It's so important. And it's a reminder
my mom used to let me quit, which is why I'm act the way I do now.
But you see that, and we had a thing about this. An episode about this, but this lesson right now, that value of you can do hard things, you can, your mind is your strength, you can get through this, is, you know, find your solution, be problem solving oriented. That is like the value right now and the lesson that I'm in, and I feel really good about it. And it's interesting because we talk about this, and I know, like, I want to hear what you have to say too, Cody, but like there's there's a journey through motherhood where you just don't even realize how some things take precedence over like what you thought was going to be the lesson that was going to be important.
Yeah.
But as your kids grow and develop, you have to see what they need, and you have to adjust as a parent.
I
I'm
went
sorry,
through
before you
that.
talk, your lashes look really good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Did it myself.
This little beat is good.
Thank you.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I mean, I don't have too much to say because y'all said a lot and I'm like completely aligned. I might need to try your karate place because Brooks obviously did karate for, I want to say almost 2 years. And I felt like I did not feel as passionate about the results as you are. I definitely was like, this is barely a push up. Why are they giving him a new belt? So
I would be
he knows
irritated.
this. I
too.
said
Nope.
this. I said this to him.
Make them cry.
And so I might actually have to
Make 'em
explore
cry.
this because I'm like, that was what I wanted to get out of it. And I'm like, it was giving easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that said, I would say the only thing I would add to it is for me, it's wanting them to be proud and rooted in being young Black boys or Black boys, period, into Black men. And I think that's really important as they are, especially like in these very non-Black spaces, but also be extremely thoughtful and loving of people's differences, especially culturally. And so one of the things I do love about their school, while it is, I don't know the exact makeup, but I find that it is extremely diverse. There might be fewer Black people than I would like, but there are a lot of different cultures there, and I really appreciate that about the school. So I try to teach them about all the different cultures and make sure that they are excited and proud of who they are. So that would be the only thing I would add.
That's
Y'all, well, I'm glad we were able to like come out of the darkness.
Yes.
It's always light at the end of that
Wait,
tunnel.
there's something really important that everyone needs to know.
Yes.
My braces are off.
I was gonna say,
Okay, it's a bob.
thought you
It's
was about to
40.
say
The
you're
braces
pregnant.
are
Wait,
off.
I need you to look right over
and
here.
we need to get and
Okay.
please please add the ting. with
Yes.
the
I
little-
want a ting.
Yes.
I want a tea.
And I don't
And
have
the
my
bob.
braids in right now. I got a bob. My braces is off. Ew.
Cute.
Bobby,
We
I
love
love
it.
Just
We're
being
kind of
yourself,
obsessed.
Your full self.
All right, fans, friends in the den. We will catch you next week.